everybody. If you're just joining us, very excited. We'll get started in a few minutes. People will continue to log in, I'm sure. So get settled, chat amongst yourselves. I am so excited today to have Vanessa as our guest. And we will just give it a couple more minutes for people to log in so we don't miss people. And then I'm wondering, Vanessa, do you have
Uh-huh.
is that a presentation that you are willing to share at some point? Do you want
Oh
to?
yeah, I'll send it over to you and then y'all can, everybody who participated is welcome to have it. I don't ever keep anything just mine, so I
That's
don't necessarily
awesome.
do that. So I will
EXP.
definitely get that over to you.
Yeah, collaboration is the new currency for sure. And we do send an email out to everyone who's registered.
Yeah,
So we'll include that in the recording. And Raymar does an amazing job of editing the video. And so that will be up on our YouTube channel, but we'll also send it to you raw or edited to your assistant, and you guys can decide kind of what to do.
perfect.
But we're just at the top of the hour. I know that people will continue. We had hey Carly Graham, nice to see you. Um, People had continued to register as of this morning, so they'll be tuning in. You know how they'll be coming in at 12:30, thinking that it was 12:30. Anyway, I would love to start so we can be on time and respect the time of those that did share. So, hi everybody, my name is Lisa Parento. Thank you so much for joining the Lisa Parento team Mastermind for February 2024. We do this once a month. Really looking try to do stuff on production, of course, because we are all realtors. But I always end up erring on the side of mindset because I think that's what we bring into everything that we do. And
Yeah.
so, I definitely have a heavy emphasis on that. So this month, our theme was leading with love. And I looked around my world to see who was really walking with that light behind them and around them. And I continuously see Miss Vanessa Nunez posting daily some really inspiring quotes and just really working as hard as she is, a seven-time icon at EXP Realty, just continuing to share inspiration and to lift up others, which is really, to me, one of the reasons that we're all here on planet Earth. So I thought, oh, I'll ask Vanessa, but I was very nervous. I don't really know Vanessa. I've only seen her speak from the stage at different events that we've been to, Brent Gove's events and probably EXP Con shareholders. And I don't really know Vanessa at all, but I reached out and without hesitating, she said, of course, I'll be happy to do it. So I was really excited. She brings so much to everything that we do. She brings an amazing vertical market that here on beautiful Cape Cod, we know nothing about. I'm not sure, I know some of my team members are in New York. And I mean, we don't kind of do farm, land, and ranch. So that's exciting in and of itself. But Vanessa's going to share a presentation today with us on soulful selling. And Vanessa has been with EXP for 8 years, which is amazing. She just celebrated her 8th year in November. She was one of the, I think she said she was under 25, agent under 2,500 or something. Way back when there were, not that many
Nobody.
yeah, there was not that many agents at EXP. So that took a lot of faith, right? A lot of conviction, a lot of persistence, and a lot of optimism. And I would suspect that all of those words aptly describe you, Vanessa. So with all of that, let me just put myself on mute. We'll just spotlight you, and I will turn the presentation over to you.
Awesome. I am super excited to be here today. Lisa reached out and she said, "Hey, would you want to do this?" And I guess my life mission has always been to inspire somebody. I start with myself first. So a lot of the quotes, if you follow me on any one of the platforms, you'll see it really comes from my own personal life. So I lead from my life first. So she asked if I would do something on soulful selling because I really believe in authenticity. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right here. As you see, this really is my office. So there's all sorts of quotes and everything around behind it. I actually live what I preach, so I walk the walk. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll start with this. Let's see. Um, so obviously I'm Vanessa Nunez. I am a 7-time icon agent. I have been here with EXP, very early adopter. I think what got me is that I was already doing everything, and they said, "Hey, you could have stock and be an owner." Great. So I really embraced the icon path and what it meant for me and how it changed my life. So happy to do all of that and explain that in another presentation. But I went and the route of um farm and ranch. And so that's where you see Ranch Texas, and that's my entire brand. And I'm very grateful for it. So let me tell you a little bit about soulful selling. Soulful selling is really about coming from a place of authenticity and really being yourself, understanding who you are and not allowing whatever else on the outside to change who you are. So there's kind of 10 steps of how to sell with your soul. And I believe that there's also verbiage along with that and how to change the way you perceive the things that you might look out into life. So as we go from here. So the 10 steps, be whole and genuine. What does that mean? It means be yourself. How many times are you out there and your clients are like, oh my gosh, I am totally having withdrawals. I haven't seen you, I haven't talked to you. The deal's over, and they're messaging you because they really feel like you are now part of their ecosphere. You're really part of their friend group, you're part of their life and part of their family. That's because you're coming out with authenticity. People know when you're genuine, and they know when you're really you. When you show up as yourself, that means you're showing up without any pretenses. Some days I show up, I am a WTF person, so I say that a lot, and I use the real word, and my clients half the time find it really funny because it's sometimes you just can't make up what happens in our business. I mean, you just can't. There are some crazy things, and you add animals and everything else into farm and ranch, and you're just like, are you kidding me? Opening the door and there's a rattlesnake. Okay, we're not going this way. So, you've really got to be up for serendipity. And, part of that is really being genuine in who you are. I'm sure that Lisa will contest to that, because if you are who you are and you show up who you are, people are going to love you or they're going to hate you. But either way, you're being authentic. And when you're authentic, that shows through. So that comes through your light, that comes through your vibration, that comes through as you walk through the door. So I think that's a very important aspect of soulful selling. And if you really want to build your business and build your brand about who you are, I think that's very, very, very important. You want to listen to their story. People are always like, how do you connect so well to people? I really listen to people. So I had a situation the other day where an agent said, hey, I'm going to just give my client your number to call you. Well, there's a little confusion there because her client thought that I was supposed to work with her. By her text, I thought it was a referral. So I went, met them, talked to them, listened to what they were telling me, and I said, okay, great. We'll meet at that house. So they asked basically what would I show them. So I showed them exactly what I would show them. Well, they're like, we love it. This is exactly what we were looking for. So I come back and I tell the agent, hey, can you send me the referral? And she was very upset. And I said, why are you upset? And she's like, you stole my client. And I said, well, how can I steal something if you gave them my number and asked me to, talk with them and work with them? And you then sent me a text representing the same thing. I think what happened is when you're so authentic and you show up and you're listening to your people and you're not trying to put them into something you think they should be in, you put them in something they think they should be in, because you're listening to not just what they're verbally saying, but you're also listening to what they're not saying. And you're listening to their body language and everything else. And so she was so distraught that she really thought I'd stole her clients. And was baffled because we made such a great connection, and I understood what they were wanting, that I took them straight to what they were wanting, and I did my job. And Unfortunately, she didn't see it that way, and things like that happen, but it ended up going into a referral, and we're under contract, and we're going to close in 14 days. But I think when you show up as yourself and people connect, you're going to find how you can help people that maybe other people couldn't. And you're going to find situations that you're going to come into, but that's because you're listening and you're hearing their story. Do you guys resonate with kind of this situation? Because I'm sure you've all been in that situation before where you end up jumping in and you know you have a client before you realized it. Oh, I love this. Somebody put the little heart.
Yeah. Well, and I think so often, Vanessa, you bring up such a great point because also people tell you one thing, and then when you spend a little bit of time with them, I don't like to use that buyers are you know what because it's kind of
Yes.
disrespectful, but people end up, good grief, we could all have a lot of laughs over where people end up compared to where they said they were going to be. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but I was just really,
No, you're not interrupting at all. And I'm very much so if any of you all, and I'm glad Lisa did jump in. At any point, if y'all want to share, I really am a true like mastermind sort of collaborator. I love it when people say, "Hey, you know what? I relate to that," because I think it's what gives the genuine and the authenticity, and it shows people that we're all real. And people out there that are watching this, you want them to come back in and interact with you and relate because they're learning something through what you're sharing. So I think it's important when you're out there with your clients, when you're trying to listen and relate to them, that you share a little bit about them. I lived in the Caribbean for 15 years and I owned restaurants and coffee shops and clothing lines and did a high-end boutique. And so I've really lived life a little bit differently than most people, but my heart was always real estate. So when I decided after when I was 40 to come back to the States, I decided it was my time to do real estate. And it's really where my true heart and passion has, I guess, lived my entire life. But when I share my story that I lived in the Caribbean, because I can always relate to somebody very, very quickly. So it's finding that key note that allows you to relate to somebody. If you really listen to them and you share a small little snippet about yourself to them, it makes them connect to you very, very quickly. So if you're truly listening, you're going to find that one nugget that allows you to really connect with them on a level that other people can't. So I think that that's where you come in with your authenticity and why selling with love and selling through your soul is really, really important these days. Nobody wants, I mean, everybody's pushing AI, guys. Um, but what I see with AI is I definitely think that it's making people be unreal and not realistic. Can we use AI to help and assist? Yes, absolutely. But when you're using it to the point that it's replacing you, it's hard because then you're no longer relatable as you would be if you stayed true to yourself, you know? So I think also what's important is to stay positive. In a life where there's so much negativity, if you just focus on the things that you can be grateful for, I find that gratitude goes a long way, like a long way, long, long way. Um, there was for a long time, I actually gave gratitude jars to every single one of my clients when we closed on a home or they sold a home because I wanted them to find gratitude, even if it was a terrible situation that they were coming out of, a divorce or death or what have you, that if they could find gratitude into selling that home to take them to the new place, that a lot of different things could come out of that. And it's been really the feedback that people send to me over the years still is that they have that gratitude jar right there on the counter. And I told them how I used it. I didn't really put words of affirmation and stuff in it, but every time I had change in my wallet, I would come in at the end of the day and I would drop it all in. Sometimes I would collect it through the week and then drop it in from the week. And I had a really big, big gratitude jar. I mean, it was probably 8 years worth of money. And the kids had a party and somebody decided to take it. The entire jar. I don't know how they got it out. I really don't, because it was heavy. And, everybody was like, oh my God, I can't believe somebody, because it was such a pillar in my house that everybody knew about it, that would come over. And they're like, are you upset about it? And I'm like, no, because you know what? Whoever took that probably needed it more than I did. And I always said that money, when it got filled up to the top, I mean, it was halfway through at that point, that I would actually take it and then I would donate the money to something. So I just looked at it as, you know what? I had already released that I was going to donate it, and it donated it to someone's personal cause. So I think no matter what, if something happens to you that is not really positive, if you find the gratitude in that, and you find the gratitude with your clients, no matter how amazing or how difficult they are, I think when you can come from that place and you stay positive like that, you're actually selling again with being genuine and being authentic, because that comes out. Your energy walks in a room before you do. Um, and I've been aware of that for me personally, the majority of my life. I can remember back in college, and I'd go over to the frat house where I was a sweetheart of the fraternity, and they're like, we all knew you were here before we'd ever see you. We could like feel you would come in. And it was always a unique thing that I was like, well, that's kind of weird. But I think when you really embrace that, it's really not weird. But if you really embrace it, hey, my energy walks in before I do. So if you set yourself into, okay, authenticity is important to me, gratitude is important to me. Who am I going to inspire today? How can I inspire myself and maybe my clients to just be this much better today than they were yesterday? I think that you come in with a whole different approach in your sales. That's why right now I'm sitting with $50 million of listings, because I find that when you have a lot of listings, that's a different level of trust and belief in you than in a buyer's agent. I mean, I love my buyers, don't get me wrong, but when you're the listing agent, people are entrusting really their livelihood into you. So if you're like sitting back with, oh my God, I got so many listings, nothing's moving, sit back and say, oh my God, look how many people have entrusted their livelihood, and they entrust me to help them get to the next level. So I think if we're approaching some things the way we look at things a little bit differently, I think that you begin to show a whole different light into selling and being soulful in what you're doing. Does that make sense to everyone? Let's go to the next.
Absolutely. I love the way you turned that around. There's a really great quote. I don't know if Tony Robbins first said it, but I attribute it to him. I had a coach who once said, just say you said it. And that was that everything is happening for me and not to me. And it's the
Exactly.
same idea. Yeah.
People think that um, nothing's happening to you. No one can no one can make you mad. No one can make you sad. It's all your choice. Okay. I'm not saying that things do not happen that are out of our control, that are less than desirable, because let me tell you, in January of 2024, I feel like I've been going through a personal boot camp, and the universe will remind you when it's time to tighten your circle and really come in. So I found that, again, it's not necessarily that things are happening to you. Sometimes it's happening for you to change some things that you're not willing to give up. So that's where I look at empathy. And when I come from a place of, I don't like the word sympathy. I don't want anybody to ever feel sorry for me, because that's not what it is. Empathy means you can put yourself in their shoes and say, okay, in the grand scheme of things, if I were here, how would I want to approach this? So you want to meet people where they are. If you can't meet people where they are, you can't give grace to anyone. And if you can't give grace to anyone, how are you giving grace to yourself? So in this business, a lot of times we really need to give grace to ourselves, because let me tell you, it's a crazy business, a really, really crazy business. And I think when we can come from a place of empathy, not only for ourselves, but for the other agent on the other side, the buyers, the sellers, you're always going to find a place where everyone's coming together. And versus, oh, oh, I have to have all this in a win-lose situation. So I think that's a really important aspect, is figuring out how to have empathy. Um, when someone tells you, I think it's changing your language, so that you can have this. So when someone asks you, if you like something or you don't like something, I've learned to change my language to it's pleasant. Instead of always saying goodbye or something like that, I always say see you. I always tell somebody after you instead of go ahead. It's just changing your language. Instead of saying you're welcome, I use my pleasure, because it's giving you a different vibration in how you're being perceived and how you can perceive others. When you hear something like my pleasure, people are like, oh, that's, oh, okay. And they're going to come back and say thank you. And it's just, I always respond with my pleasure. And you get a different response back. I encourage people to kind of start saying that instead of saying you're welcome or this when somebody tells you thank you and your clients, and you just tell them you're truly my pleasure. You're going to see how they react different to you. It's just changing words.
I'm
It's just,
jotting down so many questions, but I'm going to stop you on this one.
yeah.
So, how did you find yourself looking at making these different language choices? And is there some like, is there um,
I'm
is
an avid reader,
mm-hmm.
and like longtime reader. So there were books along my way that are must to that have changed my life. Um, Starting way back. I started with The Artist's Way back in 1997 and really just started digging into myself. And let me tell you, that was the hardest book to to complete. It took me 7 times to get through it before I actually did every single thing all the way through. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the first time I read it, I'm like, I don't need to do those exercises. And then it was just like somewhere by the end, I was like, oh, wait a minute, I got to go back and do it. So I did it until I could actually complete it. And I really, really got to where I knew who I was. And then from there, started picking up other, like, these are must reads, must do books. And I love the 4 agreements. I think that really is where I started impacting on words and how they change. And just how if you just shift something, that and just the small words. So instead of saying I hear you, say I'm listening. Instead of saying yeah, I hear you, because I hear, your kids are like, always, if you have kids or whatever, there's all your spouse or your significant other. Instead of saying, you know what, you stop and say, okay, I'm listening. And I also learned, instead of telling my kids to, or anyone to shut up, to be quiet. Like, hey, be quiet for a second. Like, let's listen. And when you do that, it shifts everybody. And when I don't know something, I'm always like, hey, let me find that out. Let me just double check that before I give you what I think, if I don't know what it is. And I think it's just changing those. Um, and I learned, really, it's not in empathy, it's not saying you're sorry. It's really because too many people can say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. It doesn't really, to this point, it really doesn't mean anything anymore. You need to look at yourself and say, okay, apologies are accepted. And when you look at something being accepted, it's like, oh, okay. You're not trying to, I just think that if you change your words, you'll find a bigger balance in where you are. And anybody, if you have something to say, hey, because I don't see everyone on screen, just pop in. Like, I really think that this is where, when discussions come in, to help integrate, what this really means.
Yeah,
So
I
if
think
anybody has questions or anything, pop up.
the language choices are so impactful. I think both of those books and your experience with The Artist's Way is really something I'm going to think about and consider for sure. I love also the differentiation between like the word sympathy and empathy. And if we think about that and the profound impact that even that thought can have on the way we interact with our clients, we're
Mhm.
trying to be with them in this process, not feel sorry that something dreadful, just happened, all these left turns that we continue to make during a transaction, which often, is the reality, but to
Yeah,
really be with them and um, don't try to be there to help navigate the challenge, but don't overlook their feelings about it,
right,
right?
right,
Like that's a big differentiator, and that's going to make that person feel validated in that they feel like really disappointed or angry or upset or thrilled and
right.
excited, but being with them in that feeling versus sympathy is that's a real skill set. That's a real skill that takes a while to develop, I think.
I mean, guys, I've had some really tough clients right now. And when I say really tough, I had one where her husband had a brain bleed and he was on his motorcycle and he obviously wrecked and severed his spine. And she was hoping he would come out. He was in a coma and he passed away. And it was a long 3 months of having to be there with her. And her house hasn't sold. And I said, maybe it was because there was some other things that were needing to take place and not jerking her. Could you imagine of here all this was happening and they were actually down where the accident happened because that's where they were looking to move. So it was a very um traumatic situation, and we have her home on the market now and she's been packing and all this stuff. But I think that after this week, when they have the memorial service, I think it's going to be able to release the home. And sometimes they're not ready because they have to release. There's things that are keeping things from selling, and a lot of times it's the energy of things that are going on in people's lives and they don't realize it. So when you can find empathy for that and you can say, don't look at it that, oh my God, my home hasn't sold. What's wrong with it? Sometimes it's literally the things that are going on in life that you need to stay put to have some grounding moments still. Because if you're always in flux when all of this is going on, they'll look back and won't have been able to make a decision that was not emotional. So I think that when you come from all this, yeah, go ahead.
Vanessa, hi, nice to
Yeah.
meet you. I
Hi.
love this already. I have a question in terms of like being an empath. I happen to be like a super duper empath, and it sometimes can be a struggle because we are dealing with those really big things, and to like go home and like everybody's happy and the kids are good and my husband, and it's like these poor people are like struggling. I think that's a little hard for me to like kind of do what you said, like you know, or what Lisa had said too, we're here to like advise them and guide them. And it's a little hard when there's like some really deep stuff that's going on in their life to not
So
take
do
on
you
the
know how to
responsibility.
protect yourself? I mean, I know this is a whole different topic.
No.
Okay.
I think I need that because I think if it's
So
happening, I
you
have
might want to
to.
reach out to me after this and just say, hey, because
Okay.
I'm very versed in all of that, like
Okay.
really versed in that. So I would say,
Okay.
yeah, reach out and I'm happy to have like a whole different conversation and give you some tips on what to do and
Thank you.
how to be able to not carry all that in, because I think that's important.
It's really because I find myself being it's like so heavy on me that it's
Yep.
like I start to not be able to help them, right? Like my
Right.
focus gets a little clouded. And I know I can, if I separate myself, I know I can get them to the finish line. I know we can get what their end goal is, but it's like a lot in the meantime. It's tiring, I guess is
Right. Oh, I trust me. I know. So,
I bet.
um, Obviously, you
Cool.
can know I have a lot of life experience in a lot of different things. So, but definitely reach out and, it's easy to get a hold of me. At the end of this, you'll see all of my contact information. So you'll definitely be able to reach me and get a hold of me, and no problem. We'll set up a time and we'll go through all of this. So is this kind of resonating with some of you guys? I know that I see questions and stuff popping up. So
Absolutely. No, we just had a request for that workshop, and wouldn't that be great for people who really need that? Would be drawn to that. I'm having a difficult time kind of navigating my emotions and some very challenging client situations. Let's mastermind some solutions together. Yeah, that's a definitely would be a great one for sure. Definitely.
I'm up to do that again. Like we can schedule that out in the way and just totally off the regular Friday and say, hey, this is kind of like a special, request situation. So happy to do that. In all of this, you have to stay confident. I think in soulful selling, it's not just about being having your authenticity show and you're being genuine through everything. It's being confident in yourself and having that confidence that when you walk in, you are being yourself. And that comes with, and I mean, it comes with experience. I mean, some people I think do come into this world and they very confident. Um, but being confident in who you are and not trying to change that because of X, Y, and Z, or what X, Y, and Z agent's doing with the ABC agent. And I literally have blinders on. I stay in my own lane. I do not worry about what everybody else is doing. I think that's the most important thing with being able to stay confident is you can't be worried about what anyone else is doing. If you're comparing yourself or your numbers or anything else, it's tiring, it's exhausting. So stay confident in who you are and your path. And when you do that, it makes life so much easier in all of this, with business, personal. And when you try to separate your personal life and your family life and your business life, all of it's intertwined. I think if you're selling from your soul and authenticity, you're going to have everything intertwined. It is not an easy thing to say, oh, I'm just going to turn that off. Um, but you've got to learn for yourself, what are your personal boundaries and all of that. I mean, for me, I've learned that I have to turn off my phone, like not turn it off, but like make it go to sleep at 7:15. And then I check my phone until I go to bed. And I go to bed pretty early because I get up at 4. Um, but I think you've got to find those things that help you stay confident in who you are and what you're doing. So I hope that makes sense, because if not, then we got to kind of go down a different path and go forward and why you don't feel that way. You always want to strive to be better. And what I mean is be better than you were yesterday. It's not like, oh my God, I got to be the best. It's who can you be better than who you were yesterday? Can you do something just a little bit better um, than where you were standing yesterday? I mean, we all can do things better. I mean, even in, like I was telling you, in the situation that I had before, could I have done some things better? Yeah, I could have probably clarified instead of just, you know, like could go to the 4 agreements. I didn't assume. I read the text and she sent the people my number, but could I have just called back and said, are you actually really doing what I think you're doing? But again, I'm always there to take care of the client. And, so I look back and can I do something in retrospect and see, could I have done something a little bit better? And I think when you do that, you're able to move forward and say, yeah, you know what? Yes, the situation looked like this. However, I probably, if I could have just like maybe sent one little thing or have you, it would have clarified things. So, there's always something that we can look back in ourselves and look better. Um, Instead of using the term I think a lot, I've started using I believe, because I think it makes it sound like it's your opinion always. So, and you're almost imposing your opinion on somebody. So when I've gone to my clients recently, I'm like, and we start talking, and have been shifting my words to I believe. It is a tough situation to do because we're also, what are we thinking? But when I've started using I believe, it's helping them realize that maybe I don't always know everything, but what I'm saying, I believe. If that resonates with y'all, can you understand how maybe that would be a better than, oh my God, I think, you know what, I believe this is, and then it's like, oh, okay. It just helps entrust a little bit more in you and your abilities.
It sounds like a deeper conviction when you say that. At first, when you were saying it, I was like, what? But then the more I thought about it, it absolutely comes from a deeper, more confident place. Someone said, actually,
Right.
show us more confident. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just really learning to shift. This is a mindset for sure. And it's a constant, um, it's constantly shifting. It's not like, oh, here it is, and this is what it is today. You're always finding that next way to better yourself or use a better word or a better term. Where people use words so nonchalantly these days, I find that there's a lot of nonchalant, sort of off kilter situations. So I've been trying to shift with that and see how I can make sure that in my communications, I'm being more effective. So with that, I don't push my clients, I pull them. So in my talking, so I'm like, you know what? I've been exploring. So it makes it sound like, oh, wait a minute. She's like looking at, so let's take it because I do a lot of farm and ranch. I'm like, you know what? I've been exploring different avenues on how I can do my wildlife exemptions and make sure that I'm staying up and current. And so it doesn't sound like that I know it all, but that I'm also exploring other avenues. Because I think in this world where everybody thinks I see somebody's puppy, little puppy, huh? It's a big one. Um, so I find that when I started using the term I'm exploring instead of I know, or it's or making it as a matter of fact, it left more room and more space for people to go, oh, okay, well, maybe I should explore or view something a little different. So again, it's really coming in and how am I pulling people to come towards me versus, feeling like I'm pushing them into something. So I hope this is really resonating with you guys and understanding about a little bit more about soulful selling. Um, Never sell anything you wouldn't buy. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, if you're not going to listen to yourself and you don't buy what you're saying, how do you expect somebody to then buy into you? So if you're saying things, like, I'm trying to find an example where I just had recently with one of my clients, and instead of so you can go back to making sure that you're confident and never selling anything, um instead of using like in my opinion or again, something like that, I told if I'm definitely certain in what I'm talking about, I let them know I'm certain that this I mean what was it about, it had to do with, we have propane tanks and gas tanks, and this was a propane, and somebody put in a new stove and they forgot to put the conversion kit. So I just said, I am certain that the company that put it in will come back in and do the conversion kit because it's a safety issue. So they were very, very apprehensive of moving forward with the deal. Somebody just came in and put the new stove in. They just put it in, but they didn't test it or see if the conversion kit was on. So I just basically called back and said, hey, Where'd y'all buy the stove? Somebody forgot to put this in. I knew that in that instance that I was absolutely certain that they're going to come back because it's a safety issue. So I hope that makes kind of sense, and something that you would, selling something that you would never buy. So you don't want to say something you weren't. If you're certain about it, let them know you're certain about it, because that's important.
Well, but
I
also let's say you're working, because when you first said that, I was like, there's a lot of properties I would not buy that my clients are buying. But it's not that. It's that if you're saying this, I really believe that if you work on this property and get it into a much more Airbnb condition, it will probably be an amazing investment. If you don't believe that, then how dare you say it, right? I mean, so I can see how that saying it in that way for sure. Yeah.
So it's like something, it's always looking at something that would be, it's not, I mean, definitely never sell somebody a property that you personally wouldn't buy. I mean, there's some stuff that I have sold that I personally wouldn't buy because I don't want the area, but nothing's wrong with the house. I would never tell somebody, because if that's the area of choice, I'm not going to say, no, I would never live here because I would never live in this area. But I look at what is important. If this is their home and so forth, I always do turn it back to them. And I always say, like, I'm certain that if this is really where you want to be, this is a lovely home, or, condo, whatever it is, piece of land, whatever you're wanting to do. It's going back and kind of changing a little bit of words. Um, I've also learned I never tell my clients that I'm busy. If I
Mm.
can't get there, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I have a prior commitment, but can we do this? Because I find recently, if I've said I'm busy or something like that, people have taken offense to, and I mean, even personal, even in friendships, people take it personal. And I'm like, it's not that I'm busy. It's like literally that I have just prior commitments. So instead of just saying you're busy, it's saying I have prior commitments, because a commitment means that you've given your word to somebody that you are going to do something. And so when you use that, I have prior commitments, it sounds like, oh my gosh, they made a commitment and they're standing by that. It doesn't matter if that prior commitment is for you to go to the gym and that is your prior commitment. That is your commitment. It is on your calendar. So don't negate yourself in all of this as well, because it's very important. If you have commitments to yourself, put those on there and don't negotiate those, because a commitment is a commitment. And the minute you start negotiating with yourself on your personal commitments, you're going to start negotiating with everyone else's commitments. That's also part of being authentic in all of that. Yeah, follow up because you want to, not because you have to. I randomly text my clients, hey, what are you doing in this? I don't have a CRM like everybody else does. I don't. Everything is in my phone. I have 5,200 contacts in my phone. I've just never been that person that feels like, oh, I have to do this to be a real estate agent. I have done everything backwards. I have done everything not the way you're supposed to. And I still produce every single thing. And I outproduce a lot of people who literally are into every single system that they have. I think what's important is for you to honor who you are. And that's where follow up because you want to, not because you have to. I think if you're looking at your clients as cha-ching, 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 that's a have to. I don't necessarily look at that as they're cha-chinging. I look at them as they're real people, and I love them for who they are. So like I randomly, hey, let's go, catch up on coffee or this or that, because I really I truly genuinely miss them too, because I haven't seen them for a while. So I follow up because I want to, not because I feel like I have to. So I think that's very, very important when you're coming in and you're doing from a soulful selling point of view, because that's really what's genuine and authentic. So I'm sure some of you guys can definitely relate to that. I do the things I choose to. So I think it's important when you actually go, I choose to do this. versus I have to do this. Again, it's just changing that mindset of how you're viewing things. So I'm going to send this out right here. This is my, all my information. So you can always connect with me and everything. I've learned a lot about language and how to, and I'm not perfect, guys. I mean, I mess things up all the time too. So, I mean, that's for sure. But I try to really always really think a lot. um, so I sit back and observe. Like I'm very quiet a lot of times, but when I'm vocal, it's because I'm certain in what I'm talking about. I don't speak unless I know what I'm talking about. And, sometimes people are like, either you're rude talkative today, but it's because I'm either very passionate or I'm very engaged in what's going on. And I'm certain about what I'm saying, and I'm here to show up for that. If I don't, I sit back and I observe a lot. And people um take that, as they will. But so, I mean, I would love to open up to conversation and discussion because I see tons of, I guess, chats, questions, or
Yeah.
whatever else.
Can you stop share again so we can all kind of be together and
Here you
mastermind?
go. Oops.
Yep.
Vanessa, thank you so much. This is just wonderful because I always feel the pressure the first of the year, like, oh, with AI, with the CRM, with this and that gadget and this coach
God.
and everything, that this was just it
Too
hit
much is too
home. So
much.
thank you. Yes.
Too much is too much. And I think I always tell people to go with the grocery store approach. Um, do you buy everything that you walk into the grocery? No. There's some things that you go, ooh, I don't like that. Like, leave it on the shelf. Leave it on the shelf. Just because everybody else is doing it does not mean that you have to do it. Like I literally do not, in all regards, if you look and say, okay, here's what you have to do to be a successful agent, it would not be a picture of Vanessa, because Vanessa does not do anything that everybody else said to do. I said, you know what? I have to really be me. I have to come in and do this. Do you know how many times, like I have a big truck. I mean, like I have a really big truck. Um, do you know how many times people said, you can't do that. You can't sell luxury. You can't be this person. Look at what you drive. And that has nothing to do with my caliber of who I am or an agent. I drive a big truck because I sell farm and ranch. So, if that's going to intimidate you because my truck is bigger than your Tesla, I'm sorry. Like, maybe you shouldn't be here. So, I mean, that's just the way I look at it. And it's because I'm being authentically myself. I could care less what they show in, but if you're going to come in and tell me that I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing, then what are we doing here? You know what I'm saying? It's like too many people are giving too many opinions. And I think if we just start learning to shift our language to more applicable and spontaneous sort of serendipity moments, that you begin to really see who people are.
And you know what I heard woven through everything that you said, certainly those 10, the 10 steps. And by the way, everyone who's registered, Vanessa has agreed to share the presentation. So along with the edited video that we will send out and the link, we'll also send a link to the presentation, which I really appreciate you doing. But what I saw woven through everything was kindness.
Yeah.
Just kindness, simple kindness, which maybe isn't around as much today as maybe it was, or maybe we just have to continue to look for ways to show that in our deeds, but also in our words, everything that was very impactful. Someone made a comment that it was, let me go back because I want to pull the comment up because she said it really, really well. She said, I love this, Vanessa. What a powerful way to be intentional with these tiny shifts seem huge once brought to light. And that is just so true. Taryn said that, that they are tiny shifts, but they're huge.
Yeah. It's just like one little thing a day. It's like, don't think that I've come up with this all and like here. It's been over time. Like I said, I lived on an island for 15 years and I really got a PhD in life. Okay. You dealt with mass amount of people from all different cultures, all different walks of life, every single thing. And you had a very short period of time to connect with someone. But in that time, I have made such lasting lifetime connections that even though that I've been gone now from the island, as long as I lived on the island, my son was born there. I just took him back for when he graduated high school. I took him and his friends. The impact that you leave on people is everlasting. It was so like, this is what gets me. It's like my son still talks about this because a couple of girls that were there, they were like, couldn't believe how, even though we've been gone 15 years and my restaurant's been gone for 15 years and my coffee shop, I mean, it's still there, but I'm not running it. They were like, we so miss, this, particular sandwich or a particular pizza or whatever it was. But it's like, we knew we could go there. And it was just like, it was this piece of home that we could go get. And we were having a rough day, that you would be there and allow us the time and the space. So it was really awesome for him to still like hear these things, even though that he was 6 when he left, so it's how you touch people and how you impact them. And sometimes if you're bringing also the negative out in them, realize that you're touching their demons. You're touching their inner sore spots. So sometimes maybe you're the lesson for them to learn. And someone said that to me not too long ago when I was going through something. And they're like, have you ever thought that maybe you're the lesson? And I've really pondered on that a lot, because January for me felt like another agent said boot camp. I'm like, yeah, it's been freaking boot camp of life. And if you look at yourself as maybe when somebody's approaching you, not necessarily from a place of love and kindness, because we've all been there and we've all been on both sides of it. If you realize that maybe you're the lesson today for somebody and you look at it through those eyes, maybe you realize like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'm just there to be the lesson for them today. So we all can be impactful in different ways.
Absolutely.
And I think that if we come from that place, it'll be a big shift in not just in our personal lives, but overall in the whole collective.
Yeah. Soulful.
Wow.
How about other questions, comments from folks? Got stuff you wanted to ask or share?
Well, Vanessa, I also like that analogy because I've had a lot of difficult people myself lately. And I've always heard, oh, I'm attracting them into my life. Like, no, I'm not. I don't want to attract them. But just hearing, like you said, about your lesson, that's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome, because sometimes that's what it is. We're the lesson, or they're our lesson. It's shifting, it's small little things that can be very impactful overall.
Other questions?
Anybody?
No, I have a list here. I just don't want to always take over all the time. Other questions, shares, thoughts from what Vanessa shared? So I have a couple questions. First of all, what is the gratitude jar? What is that? And what is it as a gift? I mean, I kind of thought it was like people put gratitudes in them, but then you kind of went a different direction. So tell us what is
You
that?
can put stuff in them, but so there's a company that I came across in 2016, and they had these gratitude jars, and I just was like, wait a minute. And I bought everything that they had at the store. So really paid a lot for them there. And then I found them wholesale because I have an EIN number, and bought them wholesale. But it was just impactful. It was like literally like a quart size jar, and it had a slit in it, and it had a leather wrap around it that says gratitude, and it came with a penny. And I was like, that's it. I'm going to start putting my change in there and just saying, thank you. Every time I put it in there, thank you. And what I was grateful for. So, I mean, I start my day out with a gratitude journal anyway, but this was just that extra thing in the day where it's like, if I had all this change, like I hate carrying change and, it makes my purse heavy and is it all of it? So I would just like put it in the jar, put it in the jar. And I really made the entire household start doing that. So it was based upon me doing it for myself. Then I started giving it to my clients and they all still have them in their homes. Like they all cherish it because it really makes you stop. It makes you really think about, being grateful, whatever you're putting in the jar. Some people use words and that, but a lot of my clients had really turned it over to the change because it was like, thank you for even if they were just saying thank you for, the money they had or, whatever it is, but
And then depending on how long you save that for, it
yep.
could be very grateful to have that for an extra,
Yeah. I mean, I have
vacation,
these
extra money
jars
for
and then I have
vacation.
these jars.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. So I had a question about your slide on stay positive. Can you share with us some ways, in terms of a daily practice or sources
yeah,
of inspiration that you use when you're not feeling particularly positive to kind of pull you out of that and to get you back on the positive track?
absolutely. I have 3 apps. I start my day actually at the gym with called Pep Talk.
Mm.
And it is phenomenal. Like, you don't know how many times I've shared it with people and they're like, oh, I have to subscribe to get on. I'm like, subscribe. And then now all those people send me stuff all the time back and forth too, because you can find any topic or whatever you want in there, but it's just a literally snippets of different people talking. It could be Tony Robbins. It could be, Mel Robbins. It could be, um, Vision, from Mind Valley, all these different things. I mean, I've taken Mind Valley courses. I have a I Am app and I
Mhm.
set it to, I have the I Am, I have the manifestation app, and they just generally come up. I just set them to come up multiple times in a day. And it's just those tiny little things that will make you stop for a second and read it and go, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Like, I am that. Or we all have to have those little things, but those are some of the things that I do on a daily basis. Pep talk is a must, like
Well,
a
I gotta look
must.
that one up. I am, but I don't have pep talk. Others,
Oh,
did other people have kind of reminders or apps that they use to stay positive that they want to share? Anyone
I've
have
been listening to Growth Day every day, and it was a complete game changer in my life.
what is it?
growth day.
Growth Day.
Oh, birthday.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
That's Brendan Bouchard.
Okay. I know him, yeah. Years ago, when I see the clock at like 111 or 222, 333, whenever there's multiple numbers, that's like an indication for me to stop and take a deep breath. And in that moment, look around in that moment and be grateful for whatever is going on at that moment. So I've always done that with the numbers on a clock for sure.
Yeah. I think it's super important. I've also done a couple things with my group. These little bracelets, I've got to get them again because I've used them all. But you get them and you tap your word in for the year,
Mm.
and you tap it in and you keep it. And mine literally fell off, and I'm like, I need to put that back on. I need to go get that again. So,
What was your word for 2024?
oh,
Did you pick a word this year?
2024. Well, actually up there, I actually have limitless, thrive, abundance, inspire. So I actually have like my goals for 2024 right here to the left of me. So
Awesome. I think Jennifer, you were going to say something? No.
Well, it's gonna sound super weird, but I just started doing this. So like when I go to like houses and I'll do like videos and just kind of tour the houses because potentially there could be a buyer on my social media. Usually it's vacant houses. It's gonna sound weird, but I started doing this and it's actually kind of working. I kind of like, I'm grateful that I'm able to do that tour and shoot that video. And I've kind of said, like, thank you for letting me show this house to the house. I know that sounds silly and stupid,
I
but
love it.
it's
It's not at
working.
all. It's not at all because you're showing gratitude that you have the capability to walk into that home and to actually share it with other people. So it's
Right.
not weird. It's not stupid at all. It's that you're taking gratitude to the next level. And I think that's really where it is. You're leveling up your business because you actually are grateful. And if you're saying it through authenticity and being genuine with it, that is what is coming across, and that's why it's working, because you're
Absolutely.
genuinely grateful.
This is
Absolutely.
something brand new that I started doing. I've been in the business for 7 years, and once I started kind of, being grateful for things and really realizing it's like the little things, just little
Yeah.
things, and it's just kind of all coming together now. So
Beautiful.
Did y'all
thankful.
Yeah.
the song Secret to Life? Have y'all, I'm sure if you listen to country, you would know it. It is one of Faith Hill's songs, but she talks about the secret to life as being basically grateful for a good cup of coffee. I think if you could really apply that every day is like, oh my God, I like I literally love my coffee. I drink out of it with I do 100% um a 1930s drippolator, like all the way. Like that's how I do my coffee. It's like, and I love it. Like it's like the best thing ever. So
Simple.
I think
All the simple
it's
things.
simple, and the things in life to be grateful for really are sometimes the most simplest things.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, Vanessa. This has been absolutely a true, true, true pleasure. It was great to get to know you better. I think you uplifted everyone today. I'm really, really thankful that you were able to join us. I would love to share also that next month in March on the 8th, Janie Coffey, who's one of the 5 original Luxury Advisory Council gals and just an amazing agent out of St. Augustine in Florida, is going to be giving us some real production tips about luxury and kind of springing into Q2. So looking forward. She's got all kinds of great FISBO stuff she does and expires all in luxury. I mean, multi icon agent in EXP. And then in April, we're going to be doing some stuff on fair housing. So that will be kind of in alignment with Fair Housing Month. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So thank you again so much, Vanessa. Thank you everybody for joining us. Your time is super precious, especially Friday at noontime. We really appreciate you joining us. We can't have a mastermind without you. So you are really important, and I do honor and appreciate your participation. Again, really, it was great. And thank you, Vanessa. I look
Guys,
forward to
I
the next
appreciate
time.
it.
Yeah, our paths cross. Thanks again.
No worries. Have a great day, guys.
You too.